Hey y'all, welcome back to the internet. This is Design 264 with Avery, a tutorial. Today, my friends, Blender using the poster and object template file, and there is a Blender file, there's an Illustrator file, and there is also a zip file that is for Sketchfab, and leave it as a zip, do not uncompress, do not unzip it. All right, here we go, let's do this. So here's the Illustrator file, and the poster and object instructions are at the top. The first thing you need to do is complete your art. And you'll see in the layers panel that there's an area at the bottom. The bottom layer is for your art. Ignore the null for export right now. That's just for the stage set instructions. And here are your instructions, but you can make those invisible when you're not needing them anymore, and you can make your art visible. So right now I have a text object here. I have a shape that I made with the pencil tool that I've been expanded by doing object, expand, dope. I have a 885 pixel by 1080 pixel, the size of our artboard. Rectangle with a freeform gradient on it, awesome. And then I have an image that I made that I cut out, that I use a mask for in Photoshop. I saved as a PNG, and then I imported here. And the saving as a PNG maintains its alpha transparency so that you can see through it. Cool. And you can see, you can distort it, do what you want with it. And when you are happy with your image, remember, going back to the instructions here, you can follow along. So you're going to do File, Export, Export As, and you're going to save this as a JPEG. Let's use the artboards just because. Know where you're saving it. I'm going to save this as testes. Ooh. All right, export. RGB is great. Maximum 8's fine. Let's do 300 for PPI, just in case in Blender we want those pixels, that resolution. Then hit OK. So it's saved there, and now we can go over to Blender. So this is what you're going to see when you open up your poster and object template. It might look like this, but remember if you hit here, that changes the viewport shading to material, which is great. You can get a preview of it by hitting here, and you can see I've actually, this is kind of like gradient in the background. I've added a sky texture that's like essentially putting the whole thing in a world that's like a sky. That'll be helpful for when we import objects into this. And then this poster background, so the image that you made is actually like, it has an emission to it. So it's as if it's a screen. So it's not reading, the computer, Blender's not reading this as like, I don't know, a piece of paper that needs to be lit, right? Like this. It's just reading it as kind of a glowing Illustrator thing. So you don't need to worry about putting lights on it. It will emit the appropriate amount of light and look like a screen. It'll look like your Illustrator file. Exactly. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is replace this image. And the way we do that is we have to, it's a little bit different than the icon template. First we need to unpack it. It's packed so that this doesn't show up just as a purple texture. Let's use the first one is fine. And now you can click on the file folder icon right here, open that, and you're going to navigate to wherever you saved your test image. There's mine. And you're going to hit open image. And there we go. And so the way I set this up is we're looking at the camera right now, but it's selected the image. And this is the actual size of the image, but the way I set it up, it is constrained to fit within the camera. So you don't have to worry about this kind of like your image fitting perfectly in the camera, because it will do that automatically for you. Let me rotate it so you can see. I'll set it to the material so I can move around with it. So it looks funky now, but it works with the camera so that when you have viewpoint, camera, it will fit perfectly in there. Okay? And now what you're going to do is use that zip file, because we want to use Sketchfab. And I'll show you how you do that. So edit, preferences, and you're going to go to add-ons right here, and we're going to install an add-on. So you see I already have SketchUp, or my Sketchfab add-on there, but we'll do install, find where it is. So right here, it's this Sketchfab plugin, and you hit install plugin. And then it will probably show up automatically for you, but in case it doesn't, you can type into the search right up here, and we can type in, just start to type in Sketch, and there it is, the Sketchfab plugin. So it might be like this when you first install it. You just want to make sure this is checked, and then it's activated. And it actually is activated here as a tab. So now we can close out of the preferences, come back here and click on the tab, and it will ask you to log in. So the username, the email is avery2@design.upenn.edu. I hope this works for everybody. It should. So my email, and then the password, y'all, is in the file. I don't want to put in this YouTube video, but I think you'll find it funny. It is the president, capital, the last name of the president of our university, and then all capital, and then 3 $signs. Am I logged in? I might have typed it in wrong. There. Now I'm logged in, and I can do a search. So we're finding 3D models. This is beautiful. We don't have to leave the program at all to find a 3D model. So let's just look up a bottle. This poster is about bottles, let's say. You can click right here in the image to find to bring up your selection of bottles. And let's say I'm really digging this bottle right here. So you click on the bottle. It's 5 megabytes. That's pretty good. That's not too ridiculous. Import the model, and it will go to our origin, which is right there. So what we're going to do is we want to be able to scale it down. It's too big right now. So I'll hit the glass bottle over here in my outliner. So now it's selected, and I can hit S on my keyboard for scale, and then just move my mouse in. And then when I'm happy with the size of my bottle, I can hit the left mouse key to confirm that. Now I have a bottle right here. Oh my gosh, that was me hitting R on the keyboard to rotate. Now I'm going to show you how to animate this bottle. So let me just kind of show you where it's going on. It's a bottle. It's at the origin point, which is right here where the X and the Y axes meet. And it's in front of our poster, and it will always be in front of the poster. That's great. So view, camera, or viewpoint, camera. So here's our image. And in order to animate something, we need to use keyframes. So this is our first frame right here, looking down at the timeline. So we're going to use the timeline for animation. So when you're at your first frame, beautiful, you can hit I in the viewport area with your glass bottle selected, whatever thing you import, whatever 3D image object you import, make sure that's selected, and then hover over this window, and then hit I. And we want to do a keyframe for the rotation. So yes, rotation. If you're going to move it around, location. If you want to do, you're not sure what you want to do all 3 of these, location, rotation, and scale. Awesome. Now we can move all the way to the end, which is 120 frames, and 24 frames per second. That's how I set it up. So this is 5 seconds, and that's ideal for our animated posters. Nothing really needs to be more than 5 seconds. It's just going to get too big of the file. So I just grabbed that and I dragged it to the end. You can also click right here to just go to the endpoint, and then we could just rotate this bottle just like that. And then after you do your rotation, whatever you want to do, and you can constrain the rotation to an axis if you hit R on the keyboard and then Z for the vertical axis, or hit R on the keyboard and then hit Y that's like the axis like coming directly towards us. It's the green axis, and then if you want to do the X axis, it's R and then X, and that's the red axis that's right here. But I've done my just kind of like loosey-goosey rotation by clicking R and then moving my mouse around to do the rotation. So I'm happy with that. I'm going to hit I and then hit the rotation location scale, keyframe again. Oh, and you can see what happened. It didn't want to move that much because of the way I did it. So let's go Command Z, and Command Z, and go back. So we know we have our first keyframe. Let's go halfway and move it down here, and then hit I, location, rotation, scale, and then let's go all the way and rotate it all the way up here, and then hit I. let's see what that does. So I'll go all the way back to my first frame by hitting here, jump to endpoint, and then hit play. Interesting. Cool. If you really don't like the jump in that, this is what you do. So go to your last keyframe. You don't need to hover it. You just click it and then hit X on your keyboard to delete the keyframe. So you want to make sure that's the only one highlighted. If they're all yellow and you hit X, it'll delete all of them. If we want to go from here just back, what we can do is click that first keyframe. You see, you with me? You with me? Shift D will duplicate it, and you can see what happened to my cursor. Shift. So Shift D, and then I drag my keyframe over to the last frame, so it's 120, and then click to select it. Now, if I jump back to my first frame, and here hit play, we'll see what happens. We got a clean loop. So that might be what you want to do for your animation. So hopefully this gives you some ideas for that. Okay, beautiful, right? Let me show you one more thing really quickly. So I'm gonna make this go away. Make sure you save, y'all. So right, save often. So I'm gonna just change that there. Now I want to show you how you import an Stl file that you might find in this, My Mini Factory, or you can just Google search Scan the World. I found this dope looking Medusa. So you'll have to make a free account and then hit download. And you'll download an STL to your downloads folder. So then when you're in Blender, and the origin point is still right there, right at the center. It's in front of this poster. I know it looks a little wonky, but that's because the magic that I did so that it will always occupy your camera frame, your camera window. So view, viewpoint, camera, to go back to it. And then we're going to go File, Import, and then this is going to be an STL file, the things that you download from Scan the World. And Scan the World is this awesome archive of objects, art objects from museums and beyond that have been 3D scanned and then cleaned up and provided to you. So you all can go wild with referencing some art historical sculptures. And then it's in my downloads. It's this bust of Medusa from Rome, and I'm going to import the STL. It's big, okay? It is selected right when I import it. So I can actually just hit S on my keyboard and scale it down. And you start to see I start to get like to the origin point, it will start to get funky. So I clicked my left mouse key to confirm that, then I'm putting my mouse out here, I hit S again, and scaling it down. Awesome. So this is now a default material. And let's say we don't want that material. So we can come here, right? So it should already be selected if we just kind of, if you put your image in and didn't hit any of these. This is the Material Properties tab. We're going to make a new material, and by default, it does this principled BSDF, where you have a bunch of slider bars here to change things. Let's say I want to make Medusa super metallic. And y'all, we're not going to go over this. Just play around with it, right? Just see what happens. Wow. Let's pop alt metallic all the way up, and then roughness, if I reduce it a lot, it's going to get even shinier. All Jeff Koons on you, / Anish Kapoor, whatever artist you want to use that does the kind of impossibility of the physical, because they have a shit ton of money. So now you have this bust of Medusa, dope, and we can do the same process for animation. So make sure it's selected, hit I on the keyboard, let's do rotation. I'm going to jump all the way to the my last frame, and then I think this should work. So I'll hit R for rotation, Z to lock along that vertical axis, and I'm going to hit 355. 5 degrees less than 360. Why not? No. Let's just do 360. So cancel that by hitting escape. So rotate R, Z to lock it, and then 360. And now I hit I, rotate, I in the rotation keyframe. Now I can go back, and I have a sweet animation. Okay, but maybe you want to do some other stuff. And potentially you want to sculpt your own thing. So let's make that invisible key with the icon, but we also want to make sure it doesn't render when we do our render. So make sure you click this, disable and render. So now it definitely won't show up. And then come here, and I made it a quad sphere for you all to sculpt. So you can click this collection here to make it visible, and then you click on your quad sphere, and you can start to sculpt. But you might want to get rid of this widgeting, because when you sculpt and you accidentally hit these, they mess up. They do some funky stuff. So first things first, after you hit sculpt, or after you hit the sculpt me, you have it selected, come up here, and then just deactivate the widgets, okay? You can just deactivate it on the active object if you want to be specific, or you can turn them all off. I'll just do the active object so that I can still see these over here. So then go to object mode, click on that, and you want to come to sculpt mode, and now you can start sculpting this thing. Make sure it's selected. I was not selected there, so you need to make sure your sculpted thing is selected, sculpt me. And then think about if you want the go to object mode. There, make sure it's selected. I was off of it. Then go to sculpt mode. And now you can see it. See how the cursor's there? I don't want to have symmetry, so I'll click that off right here. And then I can just start sculpting away, moving around. Oh, beautiful. This is going to be my beautiful object. I don't know what it is. Maybe I want to stretch it out, so I'll come down here and grab this snake hook. I'll hit F to make it bigger. Selection, snake hook that out, right? You can also make it bigger right here. Whoa, much bigger. And turn the strength down just a little bit, right? And then go to View, Viewpoint, Camera. That's exactly what I want. I'm going to come back to Sculpt Mode, Sculpt. Click on the Sculpt Mode and go to Object Mode. And then if you don't want this sort of like where you can see the facets of the polygons, go to Object, Shade Smooth, right? So that'll smooth it out. And you all can play with whatever the surface is. Maybe this gem is going to be metallic, all right? You can change the base color. Ooh, come on, are you kidding me? And then you can do the same thing with this object. So hitting with it selected, make sure it's selected, then hit I. You can do rotation, go to the last frame. Let's rotate it on the Y, R, Y. And for this one, I will do 360 again. So it'll make a nice loop in my 5-second animation. Hit I, rotation again, I for the keyframe. Then make sure I select that rotation one. And then I can go back to my first frame, like in here, jump to the endpoint, and let's watch it rotate. Let's watch it rotate. Oh my God, 3D jams. So good.